Up ahead, you'll see that there's a horse farm on the left. Even more proof, though, that Ferguson isn't the city that everyone thinks it is. Here is Canfield Drive, where the Michael Brown incident happened. Both Ferguson and Jennings are neighboring North County suburbs of St. Louis. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't seen this already, there's a link down below that shows you an interactive map on all of the places that I've made videos on. It's really easy to use. All you have to do is click on the link to the map and then click on a pin that will take you to a link of said place. Just about everyone that lives in the United States of America has heard of Ferguson, Missouri. I mean, if you haven't by now, you've basically been living under a rock. Of those who have heard of Ferguson, maybe only 50% of them know that it's a suburb of St. Louis. Of that 50%, maybe only 10% have looked it up on Google Street View, and of that 10%, maybe only 2% have actually been here. In this video, I drive in mad circles and show you the suburb that is Ferguson, Missouri, along with the neighboring crime-ridden suburb of Jennings. Well, let's get to it, shall we? First off, while I was here, I thought I'd do some donuts in the parking lot of this strip mall while taking a break in between videos. I was bored, I needed some kind of thrill. Let me know how I did in the comments below. Anyway, if you're unfamiliar with my videos, I do speed up my videos in order to show more in a less amount of time. You can always keep up with the real time that it takes me to drive in the lower left corner of the screen. And, if you like this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, as doing all of these things helps these videos out with the monster that is the YouTube algorithm. Also make sure to hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time that I upload a new video of an area near you. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy checking out some of the featured playlists on this channel. Videos on other places like Ferguson and Jennings can be found in my Missouri playlist or in my St. Louis suburbs playlist. Last but not least, if you can't get enough of me on here, you can always go follow me on my other social media accounts, and those links are below. Welcome to Dellwood. Thanks, Dellwood. I feel very welcome. Dellwood is yet again another small municipality among the 88 that make up St. Louis County. Dellwood is home to 4,900 people, which is down from a 1970 peak population of 7,100. The median household income is $43,000 per year, and 14% of adults 25 and older hold a bachelor's degree or higher. The median value of owner-occupied housing is a low $70,000, and the crime rates are above average. Niche.com gives the public schools here a D-, so those could definitely be better. There's not much to Dellwood. In St. Louis County, you basically have dozens of small municipalities crammed in with one another, and some of them have very small city limits. Dellwood is one of the really small ones, and it is surrounded nearly on all sides by the city of Ferguson. Oh, and speaking of Ferguson, we are now within the city limits of said city. You would have had no idea that we crossed over the city limits if it weren't for my beautifully placed graphics at the bottom of the screen, as this area all looks the same. Ferguson is not as bad as most people would think, given how everyone knows about this city. I'm not saying that it's Malibu, but I'm also not saying that it's the south side of Chicago. Ferguson is home to 20,500 people, and the median household income is $40,000 per year. 20% of adults 25 and older hold a bachelor's degree or higher, and the median value of owner-occupied housing units is $83,000. The violent crime rates here are below average, but the property crime rates here are about double the average rate. Niche.com gives the public schools here a D+, so, just like Dellwood, those could be much better. Up ahead, you'll see that there's a horse farm on the left. I actually saw quite a few of these on my ventures throughout North County, and it was something that I wasn't expecting. Even more proof, though, that Ferguson isn't the city that everyone thinks it is. I mean, it's a horse farm, right in the middle of the city. Much of North County was developed during the White Flight period in the 1950s through the 70s. Shortly after, many of these communities saw African Americans move in to also escape inner-city St. Louis. In the 80s and 90s, whites then continued their White Flight movement, and now the West County area and St. Charles County are where the wealthy suburbs are. Much of the Ferguson area has nice homes, and off of this road you can see that there are sizable yards to go with the nice homes. Today, Ferguson has a higher poverty rate than it ever has before, along with a pretty low median household income. The public schools rank poorly as enrollment numbers continue to decline, and tax revenue for the city continues to decline as people continue to move out. Just about every North County suburb in St. Louis is facing these problems today, and you can see that in my other videos that I've done on North County suburbs. Catholic churches across much of the US can be beautifully built, and up ahead on the left you'll see one. If you're unfamiliar with this area, the major thoroughfares through Ferguson can be confusing. We are now on North Florissant Road, which is different from another major thoroughfare called West Florissant Avenue. Florissant Road goes through downtown Ferguson, which is currently where we are. As we go through, you'll see that it might not be the nicest downtown, but it's also not the worst, as you'll see that there are plenty of shops and restaurants that occupy the storefronts, but you'll also see the occasional boarded up building. This area of Ferguson that I'm now driving through does have some older homes that have been kept up with well over the years. We are now getting closer to the location where the police shooting took place of Michael Brown, which is what everyone thinks of when they think of Ferguson, Missouri. This event occurred on August 8, 2014, or approximately 6 years prior to the day that I filmed this video. The Michael Brown incident was one of several that sparked tensions between police officers and African Americans throughout this country. By having several police shootings occur in our country in the early 2010s and by having national media coverage of those incidents, the movement called Black Lives Matter was formed. So, on August 8, 2014, Brown robbed a convenience store off of West Florissant Avenue and police were called. Officer Darren Wilson spotted Brown and his friend walking down Canfield Drive, and that's where the interaction started. There's no body cam footage of the interaction as Wilson wasn't wearing a body cam, so we're only left to speculate on what occurred. The only footage of anything related to the incident that we have is of Brown shoving a store clerk on his way out. There's also some witnesses of the shooting that have film of Brown laying on the ground after being shot by Wilson. What most evidence tells us is that Wilson stopped Brown and his friend while they were walking along Canfield Drive. After that, Wilson and Brown got into a confrontation, and we'll obviously never know what Brown's side of the story was, but one thing led to another and Wilson eventually shot Brown. That event in 2014 sparked many forms of civil unrest along West Florissant Avenue in the following days in the forms of setting buildings and cars on fire, vandalism, and other forms of destruction of property. It's similar to what we saw in many major U.S. cities in the year 2020 following the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Nonetheless, Officer Wilson resigned from the force shortly after these chain of events in 2014. The Ferguson unrest was a historical event for our country. This was right around the time when social media first started to get really popular and you could share a video on Twitter and everyone would be able to see it across the world within minutes. With that said, I'm a YouTuber, so let's be real. I'm not an investigative journalist and I'm not someone who is here for any of the civil unrest that occurred. Therefore, I gave my best attempt at describing what had happened without giving an opinion that leads towards any side. All I know is that racism does exist in our country still to this day, granted in much smaller forms than it has in our country's past. I also know that Brown robbed a convenience store and on the way out shoved a clerk, as I can see that on footage, so I've had a hard time believing that he was 100% cooperative with police. But we're never gonna know because Brown was shot by the police officer, so we're never going to hear his side and there's no footage of the interaction. I also know that not all cops are bad. There are many great police officers out there who don't get recognized for the work that they do to keep our communities safe in this country, and 2020 had to be an awful year for many good police officers. However, there certainly are bad apples amongst the majority of good cops, and I can say that from personal experience. However, it's obvious that I can't say that from the perspective of an African American, as I am not that, and I do wonder sometimes how much worse some of those bad experiences that I've had personally could have been for me if I were of a different skin color. With that said, here is Canfield Drive, where the Michael Brown incident happened. Much of the protests and riots that took place in Ferguson in 2014 occurred right here along this commercial strip along West Florissant Avenue. At the end of this strip on the right, you'll see a sign that says Ferguson Market and Liquor, which is the convenience store that Brown robbed. Now we leave Ferguson and enter the suburb of Jennings. To put it briefly, Jennings is basically what the country thinks Ferguson is. Jennings is home to 14,500 people, which is down from a 1960 peak population of 20,000. The median household income is a very low $33,000 per year, and only 7% of adults 25 and older hold a bachelor's degree or higher. The median value of owner-occupied housing units is $65,000, and the crime rates are well above average. Niche.com gives the public schools here a C-, so those could be better. I'm not saying that Jennings is on the same level as Compton, as the crime rates here aren't as bad as even some other St. Louis suburbs. Go check my East St. Louis video if you want to know what I mean. But at the same time, it's not somewhere that you would want to move to if you were planning on moving to the St. Louis area. And now I'm about to turn off of this main thoroughfare and into a residential neighborhood of Jennings. I know some of you like that music, but in all seriousness, this neighborhood does look like it's seen better days, but there are definitely a lot more neighborhoods out there that are in worse off condition than this one. On the right, you can see the backside of Jennings High School, home of the Warriors. Well, with that said, I do end the video here. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, as doing all of those things helps these videos out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, make sure to hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time that I upload a new video of an area near you. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy checking out some of the featured playlists on this channel. Videos on other places like Ferguson and Jennings can be found in my Missouri playlist and in my St. Louis suburbs playlist. Last but not least, if you can't get enough of me on here, you can always go follow me on my other social media accounts, and those links are below. We'll see you next time. Peace!